of a ratio like that. And that same night, I had a dream that an angel was holding a new instrument in its hand, and it played this instrument and it caused a stone to levitate, to float. And I knew that the instrument's ratio of its dimensions, which is secret, I'm not going to show it here, was what my wife had dreamt, which is the 1.3333. So I decided to look at electron-positron orbits even deeper. I blew these two pairs up really big, not as big, very, very small that you see here. And I produced the 1.33333. I was so blown away. My God, the 1.333. And I realized when I looked at more and more electron-positron orbits, they were all producing Archimedes infinities. 1.222s, 1.111s, 1.333s, 1.444s, 1.555s. The electron was spitting out all these infinity numbers rather than numbers that just end, like 1.2396, and then it just ends. And what's amazing about decimal systems is if I write a 0.1111 and the numbers keep going that way, on a scale of size, the further the ones go this way, the smaller the space I'm going to enter. And if we know that zero-point energy's wavelength is ultra, ultra small, smaller than the Planck scale, which is the smallest measurement ever made, I know that my infinities are going to reach the zero-point field. And the electron-positrons were producing all of the infinities. The 1.11, 1.333s, which means matter itself was vibrating all the way down to the zero-point field. The creation of all of matter was pulling energy from the smallest wavelengths, which is the highest power in the universe. And what William Tiller discovers is mind, if it knows this great secret called the coupling mechanism, a coupling that occurs on this very, very tiny scale. And certain human beings seem to have more of this than others, that brain can interface with this consciousness and access a power scale that would make all propulsion systems completely obsolete. I believe there are extraterrestrials, angelic extraterrestrials, who power their ships with this super, super high frequency energy, and they don't need any machines at all. So I took a piece of pyrite cube, I measured the cube. Of course, the sides all look perfectly square, but they're not. And I generated 23s and 24s and 22s, and I found that, basically everything in creation on the periodic table of elements, from salt to metal to iron to aluminum to hydrogen, everything has differentials. But why is it in school, when they teach us about the periodic table of elements, hydrogen is a hexagon, but all the sides are equal, lithium is a cube, and platinum is cubic faced, but every side is equal? That's because they don't see the secret of the differential. This is the water crystal before in the upper left and after we exposed it to the sound of the sun. And I didn't do this last year either. This is thanks to my friend Jamie Burduff, who did the coil you saw. We took the sound of the sun and we decided, because last year I had measured the radius or the center of the circle to the outer rims, and I got differentials on all the radiuses of the circle. But what he did is he took a measurement in the degrees in the angle between them. We're leading towards the Great Pyramid here as a stargate. You're going to actually see how all that stone is going to produce a huge harmonic field. And so we measured the angle, and we found they were all off by almost 1 degree or just a little bit more than 1 degree. Why aren't all the sides equal? Why are they different? Because if they were all equal, it wouldn't produce differentials. Now we're going to come to the Great Pyramid discovery. Oh, this is really, really huge. Huge news. October 30th, 2009, New York Times. I was so excited about this. Couldn't even believe it. What happened is, with NASA's new invisible telescope, looking at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which NASA is getting a better and better picture of as we approach 2012, they found in the center of the galaxy something that shouldn't be there. A black hole in the center of the galaxy, if there is such a thing as a black hole, should be devouring everything in the center of the black hole. And they could see a cloud of dark matter in the center of the black hole, giving birth, not death, not destroying, super high energy electrons. Now, I predicted last year, before I left here, that dark matter, which is invisible matter to us, and dark energy, which is a polarity matrix, that the differential between dark matter and dark energy is where we extract mass and energy out of the invisible universe into the physical universe, which would explain why Hubble sees the whole universe expanding. But there was no proof that that was happening. But this experiment, looking in the center of the galaxy, it was very clear that dark matter was giving birth to super high energy particles in the form of gamma rays and microwaves. And it was leaving the black hole and not going into it. In the pursuing months, very, very recently, astronomers were looking at distant galaxies in their black hole, and they're seeing the birth of water in the center of a galaxy. Water. What's water doing being born out of a black hole? If that's a black hole that's sucking everything into it. Being born? And how does water survive? How does this stuff survive the super high temperatures in galactic center? Turns out the astronomers found that it was creating a membrane around itself to protect itself. That's a cell. That's intelligent life. That's what our cells are. They're just water with a membrane. The ancient Maya believed their god, Canub-Ka, resides in the center of the galaxy. I believe that all life is being born in the center of the galaxy, not dying. And it's coming out of the differential between dark matter and dark energy. All of these things have happened in the last year. But now, this is, the idea of the Great Pyramids as a Stargate. I mean, this is just unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. I was not the one who discovered the ratio between the Great Pyramid here and the other pyramids was the same as the 3 stars in Orion's belt. Of course, this is backwards, upside down here. That was already known, but I did know that their ratio represents a harmonic relationship. That there's no 3 stars in the sky that, if you look at them from Earth, have that exact same ratio between them. So we thought of the idea, if the pyramids were a perfect reflection of Orion's belt, how could we prove that the pyramids made of stone with copper or gold capstones could be used to create a stargate, an actual stargate, to either spiritually or physically teleport to that distant star system? So what I did, of course, is I took measurements on the Great Pyramid here. We measured you look at the best quality measurements you can get in royal cubits, and everybody thinks, well, it's square, so all the sides are even. Well, they're not. The north side was 439.767 cubits. The south side was 440.05, so they're only off by 1. The east, 439.93, and the west, 439.87. And, traditionally it was thought that that's just got to be a mistake. They meant all the sides to be even. But you saw in the crystals that I showed you last year how none of the sides of a quartz crystal, the 6 sides, are equal lengths. They're all different. So I wasn't surprised that I saw this, and I didn't believe it was a mistake by the builders. So what I did, of course, first, I measured on scale, the distance between point A and point B, and the distance between B and C, and I did the math, and I generated these numbers: 0.954, 54, 454545. So I got an infinity, and I thought, well, those are the numbers that represent the ratio looking at Earth at Orion's belt. And I thought, okay, those are my numbers, and those numbers are proprietary to the Orion's belt star system. And what's interesting about the observer and observed effect is that if a camera is on Earth and it's looking at a distant star system, the Big Dipper, any of them, the Pleiades, and you flatten that into a 2-dimensional photograph like this. This is 2 dimensions, X and Y. It doesn't have depth. And if you measure the distances between all the stars and do ratios between their distances, that is proprietary to the observer and the observed. Think of the observer and the observed in the quantum universe. If I'm over here looking at Orion's belt, the ratios are going to look different between the stars in a 3-dimensional space. So if I vibrate those harmonic codes into the ether, into the universe,